All right, Tyrone, welcome to the Golf Coach Podcast, man. How you going, brother?
I'm doing very, very well. Thanks for having me, man. Version 2.
Thanks for coming back on. Yeah, round 2. It's been great. Been really enjoying this new season 3, which I've launched. And I've been kind of reconnecting with some people that I want to hang out with them and some old friends. And, you know, you're one of the first guys I reached out to. I was like, let's get back on, have a bit of a chat. And to be fair, we probably should have smashed record before this, right? But,
Hey,
Tyrone,
all good.
tell me, you just had a player play in the USM. He did all right?
Yeah, he did all right. You know, he made it all the way through the playoffs, and then sadly lost on the last hole.
Yeah.
To lose by 1.
Yes.
And he was 1 up, I think, all the way up until the 16th, and then bogeyed 17th. The guy made par. They screw level, and he basically told me, "Look, I hit my drive, middle of the fairway, had pitching wedge into the flag. Flag was tucked back left, and he just had it. He was pumped." Bit of adrenaline going, hit it flush, and actually, instead of just landing it, short of the pin, he flew it into the rough right behind himself and short-sided himself. Tough chip coming out of that rough at Olympic, and then made the bogey, and the guy made par, and he sadly lost. But hey, he's been great. He's been doing great. So yeah.
What was he? Was he expected to make the match play? Was that a good thing to make it there, or was you think he was going to go further, or what are you thinking?
I would have thought, he's played US Junior Am before, which he made it to the playoffs and actually went on there for the second round or third round.
Yeah.
So I expected him to probably push through some of the match play.
Yeah.
Maybe get into, like quarterfinals or anything like that. Because he's got serious game. I mean, the guy is very, 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 very talented.
So where's he from?
He's from Thailand. Yeah.
From Thailand, yeah. And how long you been working with him for?
Since he's 10 years old. Well, 9.5, and now he's 19. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big journey.
That's proud coach moment, man. What's the best part of his game? Does he smash it? What? Tell us.
He's this lanky, scrawny kid, and finally starts to put on some muscle, but he's always been long off the tee. He's got that natural juice, that's just, he pumps it. And he's a good iron player, right? Yeah. He's got overall really, really good game. I think to me, it's like now his short game since he's went to Arizona State in the US, right? So he plays for the Division I college team there, where Phil Mickelson and Paul Casey, everybody went to.
Yeah.
They got fantastic facility there. Yeah. So his short game improved a lot since then.
Yeah, okay.
And I would say for him right now, ball striking wise, he's tour pro level easy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Guy can go super low. I've seen him shoot 61, 62s, right? So it's just course management stuff, I think, for him right now, and just kind of managing his expectations and how he plots around the golf course, when to be aggressive, when to not be aggressive, really.
And I think that's like people listen to this, right? Listen to all sports, right? And we've all got different types of sports that we're kind of, into, and I'm into NRL rugby league. And, what you're basically saying there is he's got the toolkit, right? And we have in Australia, like, the halfback, the number 7, right? It's like the quarterback in the NFL. And, sometimes it just takes them like a good 150 games to get real comfy. They get into their sweet spot when they're 30, right? In the halfback, in that main kind of head honcho role. And it's not like they really need to improve on their skill set. It's like the decision-making, their time, their preparation, their communication. It's not so much about having to improve the way they pass, the way they run, or get fitter. It's just that time out there. And that's what you're talking about, right? With golfers, sometimes they can shoot in the scene like a Jordan Spieth, hold a bunker shot and win a PGA Tour event straight away. Or they just have to hang around a little bit more and just learn a few more things about what it's like being out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, just the other week, I had a friend and, student of mine who's won his first professional event. And he's been out there for years and years and years, grinding away on the ADT Asian Tour he played, Asian Development Tour, which is the ADT. Mm-hmm. Played some, some events like in the Town of Thai Tour. So he's been always constantly grinding, and now suddenly, out of nowhere, he's got his first maiden win.
Yeah.
And it's looking pretty good on the order of merits. He's probably going to get his Asian Tour card back coming up. And it's funny. I think golf's like this. If you have the tool set and you'll get to that point where you can play on tour and you can make a living with it.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to give yourself time. Don't rush and go like, fuck, I need a swing change, for example, right?
Yeah.
Let me go see this coach. Let me do this. Let me do that. It's patience helps a lot. Patience
is huge, and timing is everything. Playing well at the right time, and it's a lot of that goes into play. But I listened to this story a bit about and I reflect on it a lot. And apologies for listeners because I think I've brought up a few times before, but Dana Dalquist talked about when Jake Knapp first came to him, when he first got on a tour, like his first year, just pretty much very early, I think, went to Dana. I don't know exactly on the timeline.
Yeah.
And he was like, what are we going to do? Like, came for a driving range lesson. And Jake's like, Dana said, we're not doing anything for the whole year. You're going to play all year. And we're just going to find out at the end of the year what you need to work on, because it's a different game out here. It's not college anymore, or it's not the lower tour stuff. You need to see what you need out here and where you rank and where you're at. And we'll just tippy-toe around for the season, because he's going to keep his card. He's got all the skill set, right? He's got the game.
Yeah.
And then start diving into it. And I thought that was really a really, really wise thing when I heard that. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty wise. And I'm not too sure if Jake was carving it off the driving range or whatever, but I'm sure he wasn't. But it was, when you talk about that patience and the timing, and it's like, it's going to be really detrimental if we try chase perfect right here, right now.
Exactly, right? I mean, and so often, you have somebody coming to you and, they expect, okay, well, I go see Tyrone, Toby, Dana, Stevie G, or whatever, a good coach that they've heard about. I'll let me go see this guy and he'll help me out. Andreas Kali, right? Speaking on your podcast several times. That's fantastic, right?
He's a man.
They expect this. All right, here we go. Tell me what to do. And then their expectation, as you usually in a lesson, you can get the guy to kind of understand what he needs to be done. He's understanding the feel. He probably also gets the strike, or whatever the issue is, improves in that one session most of the time.
Yeah.
But then the tough part is what's after. Right? Is, what do you need to do to keep on maintaining this, right? How long do you need to do this for, right? They always expect, like, especially amateur golfers, they expect, like, you're going to work, you're going to sprinkle some magic golf swing dust over me, and my golf swing's fixed after this. It's not how it works. You got to be patient with it. You got to go through the whole ups and downs and learn from that. It's a learning experience through this as well, which then makes you understand your own golf game, golf swing even more and more and more.
Yeah.
Right. But the more you start jumping around there, different input, different that, at some point you're just going to sit there and like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do anymore. Right.
Exactly. And people listening to this, like if you're a golf coach or you're just a golf nerd, is that you have your golf game and it's built on an identity. And I talked to one of my students the other day about reflecting on someone who we know, and I said he's got to learn to take his game out there, and the game that he has. He doesn't have a game like this person, it's his game. And it gets quite scary that when the tour players sometimes get out there and they all of a sudden are trying to find a different type of game. It's like, man, you've just been playing golf for like 15, 16 years this way under this instruction, and you've been growing and trending quite nicely. Just because you're on this stage that you're on now, why do you have to do everything completely different or try to do something different? Because you've got no identity attached to what you've just decided to do, and you're becoming like a 5 handicap golfer again. So it's interesting because, about that, and people, you got to be sometimes not try to chase perfect and educate the student on the tour player. Like, yeah, I get you can't hit that shot, but this is why. Because in your pattern, this shot doesn't really fit, right? But don't try chase that shot. Just do this shot instead. Don't try because you're going to F up the rest of your game. But I'm actually got an interesting one right now with one of my online students who's a golf pro. And we're going through some stuff, and he's, just had a good tournament, like a really good tournament, and then a poor tournament. And you can nearly see the panic kind of set in a little bit. And then he says to me, "Oh, don't worry about it. I hit 17 greens the next day at his home course." I was like, "Okay, great." But I've also been thinking as well about going, yes, he's a baller off the like, you know, away from the massive like tournaments. Like he's shooting some unbelievable scores, like 59, 61s, like crazy stuff, right? Away from tournament golf. It's interesting. It's a big difference between Tyrone about like testing the pattern that you got under high pressure situations.
Oh, huge.
Don't you think so? Like, yeah, like also testing, does this pattern actually work under the most amount of pressure you got?
Yeah. I mean, 100% different, right? I mean, how often do you see guys at a home course, you know, shooting lights out, play really, really well because they know every inch of grass on the golf course, right? And they feel comfortable there, right? So the environment around you, how comfortable you feel in your own skin and this place, everything plays a role, right? And if you then suddenly go into a tournament, to a golf course, you've done all your course prep, you've got your plan, you know what the golf course is probably going to be like when you've never played there before. But when you're there and everything's different and there's other bowlers on there, it's just, it's a different animal, right? And most people in the beginning, they struggle with this. You know, it's nobody's just going to jump in. It's like, okay, I'm just going to shoot lights out. There's your characters like, you know, like maybe DJ, right? Dustin.
Yeah.
I think he's a personality of what I hear and see, right? Where he just kind of like, I'll just take it on, you know, whatever it is. I'll do it. I'll do it my way kind of thing, you know, and he doesn't want to get it too involved with everything. And he just, he does his thing kind of thing. Right. And you look at others that are not like that. It can be tricky.
They really fascinate me, the ones that jump on tour and for some reason then just go bananas early. It really stands out to me because I just find it really freaky and crazy. Like some of the stories, like think about, there was that moment in time where you had Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland and Matthew Wolff come out and just went bang, 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 bang. It's like, who are these three kids? Like, where'd you come from? We just had Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, and Ricky Fowler, and now you three coming out here just going bang, bang, bang. And I just go, wow, it's really special. Like, most of the time we'll see people come through Corn Ferry, like Scotty, come through Corn Ferry, you know, have a few little wins and then start to grow into the golfer they become. And it just really fascinates me. What was that young fellow that I had Stevie G on actually, and we had to Google his name. I think we both forgot it. The young fellow that won out of high school last year or college, maybe the year before. Do you remember his name? One on the PGA Tour. He went to the he's got his card this year. Do you remember his name?
No.
I'll
I need to look it up.
PGA Tour winner, college. Was it 2024 or 2023? Nicholas Dunlap.
Oh, Dunlap. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was come out I think he might have won in the playoff, one in the last hole. Like, unbelievable. Like, I find that to be like, I was away from my wife, actually away from the kids for our first weekend away with the kids for like 4 years. And I'm at the coffee shop, you know, this beautiful place overlooking the water. And I'm just watching Nick Dunlap on my iPhone. I was just fascinated by it. Right. And like I said to my wife, I'm sorry, darling, I've got to watch this. You know, it was just, I'm really fascinated by kids that can just do that. It's cool.
I mean, I think, you know what, you mentioned Colin, you mentioned, you know, Matthew Wolff, Bryson, to be fair, you know, I think he came out pretty hot after college, right? Victor Hovland, obviously unbelievable. But I think it's like these guys where Bryson, I think in the beginning had a bit of an issue with that, but they felt comfortable with their own skin, right? And they knew, and now if you're coming out of D1 college golf, which is the proper ballers there. Yeah. Right. So if you understand that, dude, I've played college golf at this level and the levels keep getting up, right? So it's like, it's not comparable to like 30 years ago, right? Yeah. You can be proud of who you are because otherwise you're a golfer. So if you can take that and you can believe that, dude, my golf's getting good enough. And you can just go out there and you just be yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin and you just keep doing what you've been doing. Yeah. You can take it to the PGA Tour, in my opinion, right? Yeah. Where so many others, they get like, you know, like deer in the headlights. They get nervous. Right? So crap, you know, I'm on the PGA Tour now. What do I do? And in the end, it's golf, right? It's interesting. You know, I had a data scientist on here. People want to listen to it.
his name has forgotten me, but he's from Drummond Circles, data scientist. Just go down below. But he was talking about in college golf that I'm paraphrasing here. If you've listened to it, please correct me in the comments. But he said, like, the top 20 guys on the college tour are statistically, skill set wise, was alongside the top 100 in the PGA Tour. Like, it was something like that in the skill set wise. Obviously, it's on college golf courses in different scenarios, but what they're doing, fairways, greens, hitting, like what they're actually doing is right up there.
No, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, just now the FIFA, the kid that we talked earlier that played the USM and plays at the ASU, ASU just won their event at, I think the golf course is called Salahi or something in the States. Yeah. It's a very Augusta type kind of looking golf course. Super tight, roughs, thick, undulated greens, quick, right? And he sent me the pin locations they've had on the last day. I mean, talk about tucked, right? It's like literally, 3 yards off there, and just like nasty, right? Jeez. And I tell you what, the bigger events they're playing, those golf courses, they're setting them up tough.
Yeah.
Right? They got another kid that I coach. He's at Purdue. Yeah, dude, it's not as easy as, a lot of people think, oh, well, college golf, It's getting tougher and tougher and tougher, because
I get it. I get what you're saying.
They're prepping them, right, for the future. So,
I get what you're saying, absolutely. But for me, as we all know, it's about it's the most fascinating thing. And I had a great conversation with Stevie G about this when Nick Dunlap won. We went into deep dive about it, about the mental side of it is that yes, the golf course is tough in college golf. It's setting them up tough, but hitting a driver of the first 10 college tour event versus hitting a driver of the first 10 PGA Tour event. Bit of a different story.
Different animal.
Different animal. Great one. Hey, but that's interesting. Let's kind of backtrack there, right? We've gone down a rabbit hole. Oh, no, I was fascinated to talk about that. But let's talk about like junior golf.
Yeah.
So you have to correct me. FIFA, is that his name? FIFA.
Yeah.
FIFA.
That's his nickname. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. How are you developing these kids? Like, what have you built at TPR Academy? We had a good conversation before we went on air about this. What do you think you're doing, potentially differently from what other academies are doing? And, where have you taken inspiration from? What does it look like? Like, let's go into that.
It's something that I think we do quite early, right? Is we explain technical stuff to the kids, which I find like, a lot of kids that we start coaching, like also FIFA, he played golf before. I mean, he came to me when he was like 9.5 years old, his younger brother. So they both kind of like already play golf. His younger brother didn't play golf as long back then, but they had some experience with it. And FIFA was quite experienced. He played two junior tournaments and he's won several. So he was one of the better players. But we would literally start talking about, pretty early, I introduced TrackMan with him, right? And I do that with a lot of our kids because they need to understand ball flight, right? They need to understand, look, why is the golf ball doing what it does? How do we create proper low point control? All these basic things that are needed to understand, okay, how do I strike the ball well? How do I move the ball well? And that's coachable to young kids, right? And if you keep it not overly complicated to them and you make them understand and you show them, they catch on pretty quick. And then from there on out, you can develop them along and along and along on a long journey. I think that's where we're doing things different. I see a lot of kids sometimes come in, they have some coaching somewhere and they've just kind of been doing what they're doing with the coach kind of like not really interfering much or trying to educate them much. That's kind of like the feedback I get from a lot of like the parents and the players themselves. Just kind of let them play and let them hit it.
And yeah, I think that's fascinating because you're creating a buy-in, right? And I think a lot of the time as well is that parents, they don't know, right? They don't know what's needed or what's going on. They're coming to you for the advice. But if you can sit down with them and take the time what you're doing there and really convince them, like, this is what you've got. I like what you do, but you just need to do this really well.
Yeah.
And not just today, for the rest of your life. Like, I think we've all got our underlying issue that, that sticks within you, as Mr. Butch Harmon calls, like the cancer in the golf swing, right? Or the thing that, bites you in the bum, under the most amount of pressure.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to kind of go through, like, we see old footage of Scotty Scheffler looks exactly the same. John Rahm looks exactly the same. His golf swings haven't changed. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, they've all looked the same, right? And their bad shot probably today is still the same, right? Yeah. But it's about just getting that, what you're doing there is you're getting that buy-in. I like that because I find it tough with the kids, with anyone, to be fair, is there's so much information out there. They just always looking for the green shoots, right? Not looking for green shoots, but looking for the grass is greener everywhere. Like, try this, try that, try this. I'm going, man, like, I teach one kid who's got, he's a 3 handicapper. He got to 5 playing golf in like 18 months, and he's like 12, 13 years old, right? And his parents are like trying to bring him technical golf lessons. I'm like, he doesn't need it. Like, the kid just needs to play. Like, do these exercises, do this training. I'll take care of 2 little tiny things he needs to do in his golf swing. That's all he needs to do. These 2 little tiny things. Stop being these reactive parents. Just train. And but I still can't convince him to a degree, right? Trying to get that buy-in.
I think, the coach parent thing is, done this now for so long, right? But it's a really challenging subject sometimes, right? Because you have these parents that are, super keen on, wanting their kids to succeed in golf, become a PGA Tour player and all that, and they get super, super involved. And a lot of them try to inform themselves as good as they can. Yeah. But quite often you just kind of have to, and like literally I had this one mother, she's got like 2, 9, and I think they're 10 years old, right? Boys. And, the other day I had a playing lesson with them, and it's been raining a little bit, it's been a bit damp. And, they're still early on, they're shooting in low 80s if they have a good round, can maybe break it into the 70s. So they're decent little golfers. Yeah. But still, like, your distance control with the wedge is desired to be better over time, right? But she asked me, well, Coach Tyrone, isn't it like the weather's being kind of damp and the temperature and the air's dense, the golf ball's not going to travel as far. Should they adjust for their yardages? And I go like, no, don't worry, right? Yeah, it's uphill. Okay, adjust a little bit, no problem. And they say, isn't it? But, Bryson DeChambeau, he's measuring like air pressure and all that. Yeah, Bryson's like light years ahead of these kids. And his distance control is to a yard with a wedge, right? So it matters there. Yes, I would agree. Like, a yard or 2 more could help him out. Right now, it doesn't really matter, right? So, and they're always kind of over trying and forget on, well, how old's your kid? Yeah. Right? So give him time. He doesn't need to be a superstar now. Right, it's a long-term journey, as you could see, like with kids like FIFA, for example. Right?
Do you think golfers are just too reactive?
Very.
Yeah. Very
reactive.
Because especially when you look at, I think of other sports, right? We talk about seasons in sport, right? So like, in our rugby league, we've got a 27 round season, and there's peaks and troughs within that season, right? In regard to some teams go through a bit of a trough and they come back up, right? And it's generally due to training loads or whatever it might be, or injuries. But I just feel that, like, yes, the media gets a bit of pressure, the coach could be under pressure, what's going on? But they just stick to what they're doing. They're not changing everything that they need to do, right? They don't go, just because they lost a few games, go change a coach, go change their training loads. Like they might look at it and monitor a little bit and see what's going on. But I feel the golfer would just willingly have 2 bad rounds and all of a sudden just try to change everything up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% agree with you. It goes to, switching coach and let me try this, let me try that. It's just like, I see some juniors, they're on the range, and you literally could have just finished a session with them and said, look, make sure you do at least like a bucket just of this drill. Do it slow. Stick through the process and the fields we want you to do, right? And just go through that, right? And then you see him kind of do it, maybe not quite as long as you'd like them to do it. And then they start hitting shots, and then they they hit a bad one, and then you could literally see they're trying to change stuff.
Yeah.
You see it like, oh, let me try this, let me try that, let me try to bow that wrist, let me try to do this. And it goes with amateur golfers. I think it's even more extreme, right? They're kind of just thinking, okay, if it's a good contact and a good shot, my golf swing must have been good.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. You could have a crappy golf swing and absolutely freaking nail one here and there. You just can't do it maybe once out of 20 shots, right?
Yeah.
It's just and you always have to kind of reinforce that to those guys.
I tell you what I think it could stem down to as well, right, Tyrone, is like it's going to get harder and harder in our society for that to not be as reactive.
Yeah.
And what we're hearing there with the person being reactive is they're not disciplined, right? And I can even tell in my day-to-day life, like we had our third child and I haven't been able to train for a year, right? And, well, I haven't been able to train. There's an excuse, right? But I haven't been disciplined because I've been terrible sleeping and my discipline's been poor in my training. And it's kind of ticked off into other areas of my life where I might have been on my phone at night, where I never used to be on my phone at night, right? I have a no phone policy at nighttime. So I can see it happening in my life. And then that's probably behavior type when I go hit golf balls. Perhaps I might start not being as disciplined within what I'm doing within my training, right? And sticking to it. And at your junior academy there, when you've seen success, do you think that the success that you've had there is with golfers who are being quite disciplined?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I would say the kids that I coached that had so far like the most success are the ones that are good listeners. They don't always take every advice that you give them 100% on, and they might eventually later on in life realize, oh yeah, right, you told me about this and now I get it. But and they're putting in the ground. They're working on it. It's the kids that, and sometimes also the parents that look for this instant kind of, it's almost like like we have in our society now, this instant gratification kind of thing, right? So, all right, he told me to do this and now just do it and everything will be good right now. They don't understand, look, it takes time. It takes time to become good or very, very good at something, especially where you want your child to go. And once they kind of get that, then usually you can see their development gets better, it gets steadier. The stuff they're doing on off, like when they're not working on tournaments, when they're actually just working on technical stuff or whatever it might be, you can see they're actually starting to stick to the things that you just prescribe to them. Where before, I've had this one kid, he jumped from me to about 3 other coaches back up in Bangkok, then came back. Right. So he was just like floating around. And, then this third time he came to see me, after I haven't seen him for a while, I just saw he had some lessons over there, He comes back and he goes like, I think I understand what you said to me like the first time.
Okay.
Right. So I think I need to go back to that. And then I said, yeah, that's all good and nice, but make sure you stick to it this time.
Yeah.
Right. And they kind of looked at me and like, what do you mean? It's like, dude, I can give you this golf lesson 100 million times. Right. This is what I think you need to do. Right. So I think you can put trust into that. But if you don't do it, and you maybe do it like for a week, and then you feel like, I'm not so sure, and then you go try to find something else again, you're just going to go around in a little roundabout, in a little circle all day long, right? And then the progression and your progress, even though you think you might learn new things, actually slows down.
Yeah. So, I get it. Tell me, how much do you think it helps the other kids within your academy when there is success from someone like, I keep getting his name wrong, starts with F, him, your nickname guy, is, do you feel like when you start having success with some kids start having some success, that it kind of drives and people start thriving underneath that?
100%. Remember the podcast you had with Andreas Kali where he was talking about, when some of the kids that he coached as junior made it on tour, like Nicholas and all these guys came back and still trained with the academy and the kids could see him. I see that the same thing, even though, I don't have too many guys that are working at, obviously DP World Level Tour on the PGA Tour that are coming back to the academy. Maybe in the future, who knows? But definitely already now with FIFA and kids that are just winning a lot of junior events, it inspires kids that are practicing there. And it's like, oh, wow, it's FIFA. Oh, no, look at his golf swing. And we try to kind of involve them into some stuff sometimes with the kids too, right? So it's like, for example, we had summer camp, and FIFA actually was like spent the whole day with the kids at summer camp, where he was kind of like the host and the teacher, and they could ask him questions and stuff. Yeah. So, and then literally it was cute. One of the kids that we coach, his name's Tingley. He's like, I think he's just turning 9. He's 9, turning 10. Good little golf swing on the kid, but still, very kids-like and just a bit out there here and there, right? As kids are.
It's pretty raw. Yeah.
But he's like, look, check out my wallpaper on my phone. It's like a picture of FIFA. Is now like, oh, he's my idol now, so cool. It's cute, and stuff like that, creating that environment of where people want to learn and grow.
Yeah, I love
and have like that mindset starts to shift. That 100% helps, right? 100% helps.
There's kind of just that proof that could be me as well. And people start to, I think there's a little bit more belief, right? That can come within that. And also belief in you. I was just this morning down at the coffee shop and with my kids, and we're going to the park, and, when we left the coffee shop, we're coffee shops. So we went to 2 coffee shops this morning. It's like, Daddy, you've got so many friends. And I said, I just coach them all, mate. I said to them, you know how Daddy works at the golf course? Yes. Well, I coach all of them how to play better golf. I'm like, oh, okay. And anyways, this one lady goes, oh, so you're coaching that professional guy? I said, yeah, I've been coaching him since he was like 14. She said, oh, I've been thinking about coming to get a lesson. I was like, you don't think I could have handled you before my, guy just had a couple of top 10s on PGA Australia events? You know what I mean? Like, I was like,
I get you.
I was like, come on, Trish. Come on, darling. It was just quite interesting because that was that success.
Yeah. I mean, it's, then I have this other girl that I coach. She's won again like yesterday, and she's literally been on fire for about a year and a half, just winning a lot of events that she goes into. So her name's Monica, Chinese girl. And it's interesting because you have like you have a big Chinese community down here. They really all started like over the last 2-3 years. They're really getting into the golf thing.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I get like random messages on WeChat, right? Of like, do you know this girl? I'm like, yeah, it's Monica. So are you her coach? I'm like, yes. And so, oh, are you? I mean, she's amazing, and you must be an amazing coach. Let me come have some golf lessons with you, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, sure. It's obviously a good advertisement for, who we are as coaches, right? And then we know kind of what we're doing. Yeah. But it's cool to see that they form like this belief in others, right? That they think, oh, okay, it's legit. I can kind of get there, sort of.
And it's interesting, but like, to keep talking about it, I guess we'll just go on and keep talking about it. But for instance, we're talking about golf coaching before we came on, about how golf coaching is so different to each individual student where they're at. Like, you're talking about a bit of life stuff with the kids and all this type of stuff, right? But with that professional golfer, all I've literally done is set up, takeaway, and work so hard on his training plan, work so hard on his data collection, and work so hard on making sure his setup's good and his takeaway's good. We've done the same stuff, right, for years and years and years. Very similar stuff. But when I go to help this lady, she's going to need a lot more than that. Sure. She's coming for, she thinks that she's going to, the service is completely different from a golf coach perspective. She's got no idea, right? But the golf coach perspective, the service is completely different. But it's bananas. But tell me, with your kids, right, that you're coaching there, right, is you setting up training plans for them?
Yeah.
And what can that look like?
Basically, I mean, if we were looking at a week, for example, right? Yeah. I basically tell them, and most of these kids, they're all in school and they finish school somewhere around like 4:00, right? I want them to be working on their game 4 times a week.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So usually everything that involves is in the beginning, as they're trying to really just kind of build skill, it's swing, pitching, short game, putting, bunker shots. So the whole lot, 4 days a week. And then, you know, they can obviously have a rest day. And then usually they see me once a week or every 2 weeks once, right? So we're just kind of following up a little bit and see the progression on how they've practiced. That's pretty much what it is. If it starts to go for basic kids, right? I want to say, okay, I want to get better at this. Then when it gets to kids that are playing already pretty decent, right? They're at a better level. I start introducing statistics, obviously, to them, right? So it's like when they're starting to understand, okay, it's not just, okay, I go out and play. Oh, today I played shit, and yesterday I played great. We have to kind of start figuring out over long term, you know, where are your strong points, where are your weak points, so that we can actually switch your training plan a little bit more in a smart way based on, you know, working on your weaknesses. Like up game is, for example, something that I use with a lot of the competitive juniors that I suggest. And then, you know, basically what they have to do, which they're sometimes really struggling with, right, is actually sending me data through, right? They're very good at sending me data through when they shot 68, right? So they're ping that across. Oh, I had a great round today and it felt great. But when they shoot 78, I don't hear much from them, right? And I have to kind of reinforce that. I say, listen, I couldn't care less if you shoot 62. And if you then go ahead and you shoot 92.
Yeah.
Because right now, this here, that's match. It's a small little speck in a long distance of golf, what we're trying to get you to do better. So what I need you to do is collect data, right? And then once you've done maybe 30 rounds, let's have a look at it. And then you can start redesigning everything a little bit for you. Okay, this is what we want to try to do more. This is what we try to do a little bit less of. You know, sometimes it's like if somebody swings it pretty well, we start looking at different training practices on obviously doing some random based practice instead of just block practice and technical practice, challenge based practice, on course games. So it depends very much on the individual, but we do help them with their training schedule and give them the suggestions. In the end, I'm not crazy on top of it because we do coach quite a lot. So I want them to kind of learn some responsibilities, right? So it's like if I keep trying to, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this all the time? I find like they start relying on you going ahead and telling them if they've done it, and then they're starting to do it.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
I want to try to kind of see these kids. It's like, okay, look, you want something. You want to be good at something. This is what we're doing. This is what I want you to do. Now stick to it, right?
Yeah.
And here and there, I have to sit down, right, and with the parents and said, look, it's just not quite good enough. That's what he's trying to do, right? If he's chilling there with his headphones in, bashing balls, and you know, like at some point, I'm just going to tell him. I actually walked to a kid and I just pulled his iPods out of his ear, right? And he turned around and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "You ever play a tournament listening to 50 Cent?" It's just sometimes they have to understand. Look, it's got to be a bit of a grind here and there.
Yeah,
because it's going to be. It's not just easy. And once the earlier they understand that, the better they're usually going to turn out.
Interesting, isn't it? With the training plan, and I guess the easiest discussion you can have, well, not one of the discussions you can have with people. It's like, what's your goal? This. Well, your training is not matching what your goal is going to look like, what you want your goal to look like. They're not matching up. So you better adjust your goals, because what you're doing right now is nothing close to what your goal is going to look like. But let's talk about a little bit of stat collection, right? When you're doing that in the early stages with the kids, what kind of data are you asking them to collect?
Well, basically, and with younger kids, we already kind of do some basic stuff, right? So what I usually do with them, they take their scorecards. Obviously, they're collecting fairways hit, greens in regulation, putts up and downs, and putts per green in regulation.
Yeah.
Right. And also one stat that I want them to take care of is each time when they have their first putt, when they hit a green in reg, we want to know how far away it is.
Oh,
So they
okay.
just kind of have to stroll. So they kind of understand a little bit their proximity to the hole. And over time, you see from whatever yardages on, what their average proximity to the hole is.
Yeah,
so
okay.
kind of
cool.
nothing too crazy. And once they kind of run through it quite often, they get used to it. And then you have some good and valuable data already to just kind of tell them, look, your 60-yard, your wedges from 60 yards and then you're hitting it further away from the pin than you're hitting your 8-iron, for example, right?
Yeah.
So you got to try to put a bit more work on getting a bit more accuracy out of your wedges, stuff like that.
I was talking to one of my coaches in my mentor program. If you're listening to this, actually, it is going to be firing back up again shortly. Hit the link down below to sign up to it. He raised a good one. He has some basic points like that with the kids, but he also has a thing that says what I did good and what I could do better. And I thought, well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought that's pretty cool because, it's bringing up the positive and kind of also inviting in perhaps what wasn't good, but in a not so bad a way. So, I find that when I'm looking at statistics for golfers, my mental approach when I'm looking through my statistics, so most of my golfers, my online subscribers and my long-term in-person students all send me their data, right? I connected to their Arcos account or I'm connected to their Draw More Circles account or they send it to me, right? And subconsciously or consciously, I'm looking for the negative in the data. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm looking for where's the crap? Like, so that's what you're kind of doing. And, when I'm looking for someone who's had a bad round, it's like, what'd you have? I had 78. Okay. Why'd you have 78? Let's go find it. You know what I mean? So, and even Scott Fawcett said from Draw More Circles, you can actually also listen to his podcast as well. Scott Fawcett was fantastic. And he said, stats are there to find out what you shit at. That was it. One line. And I thought, wow, it's so good. But anyways, what this guy was doing, one of my coaches, was he was finding out and inviting in the negative, but in kind of in a nice light by also asking what I did good. I thought that was pretty cool. You've heard of that strategy before?
I heard of the strategy before because it's important that you also reflect on stuff that you're doing good rather than just stuff that you're not good at. I mean, that's huge. Yeah. We usually just do it, like after we're done with the round, let's say we have a playing lesson. I always ask them and I tell them when I see them, so look, I felt this you did really, really good. This you did good. Here we could do a little bit better. And if they've played a tournament, I always ask, okay, tell me, how was it? What'd you do good? What'd you do bad? Right? And usually they're getting used to looking at the positives as well because the golf is hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
And if you're making yourself hard by just thinking, oh, I'm just shit at this, and you just keep looking at the negatives, it's a grind that's very, very rarely coming to a nice end, really, right? In the long run.
It's golf is not a game of perfect, and I think a lot of people think it is. They try to always find perfect, and I've only ever had one perfect round myself. When I say perfect round, like a round of golf where I could not have had any better. Yeah. So
no, definitely.
I never will, and I never will because it's been a long time. Yeah. But it's interesting about that, and because we're always trying to find, and a lot of the time we think that golf should be played this way, or we should hit it this way. And one of the things that I noticed through playing lessons, I'm interested to hear your thought on this, is I'm not so surprised. I've done a lot of playing lessons before I take off to Indonesia now, but the golf swing is never as good on the course, like not even close to as good as it is on the range with me. Like I keep saying I'm not surprised, but I was surprised by quite a few students who I've been teaching who have just been like flushing it on the range with me, technically perfect, hitting everything, and they're not shooting the score. And I get out there on the course and look at the first tee and I screenshot it and I go, holy crap, that's nowhere near where we were, and it's interesting. I think that's something that needs to be taught as well, is about the golf swing on the range is nowhere near the golf swing on the course. Yeah. I reckon.
I think that's where like, game-like practice and like random-based practice and challenge-based practice becomes really, really key. Because you could be just an absolute block practice nut, bashing your 7-iron. You're an absolute flusher and king on the range. And then suddenly I say, okay, now here's the target. We got to hit it this far. We got to do this. We got to aim over there. And we maybe want to try to, shape it this way or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
If you don't do that in your practice, swing's going to start looking a bit funky sometimes, on the golf course, right? 100%.
I definitely think the performance-based stuff, it's, yes, I've got it into my programs and, we measuring it really, but geez, it's still hard to really get the same, even anywhere near the intensity being on the golf course.
Yeah.
Like it's really like, you could say to yourself, if I don't get this in, I'm not going to have a drink after. You're still going to go buy yourself a drink.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you're not. So I find that part difficult. I think the thing you touched on there was not changing clubs enough on the range, like just going through the bag enough. I think that is probably one of the biggest mistakes people make, is just making that nice perfect wear mark on the 7-iron. Yeah. Do you think so?
Yeah, I'd say so. I myself, I'm guilty of it.
Huge.
I understand now. Look, if I don't have time to practice much in my own golf swing, right? So I'm basically just kind of sticking to one club and then just kind of go through the motions from there, right? And then I'll probably hit just maybe an 8-iron or 7-iron as work on a couple things. And if I'm in block practice mode, then I'll do that. And if I'm not, then I might actually start just hitting some different clubs and aim at different targets and just kind of go out to the golf course that way. Right. So, it's definitely a trap you can easily fall into. Right.
And I tell you, like, and people listening to this will know this firsthand, is that, I had an example of the day with a guy, we did a driver session recently and he just pounded drivers for ages. Right. And he comes for his next session, get the mid-iron out, chuck the stickers on, get in front of the quad, hit towards that target, let me measure it, let me go on Sportsbox, let's have a look. And I'm just sitting there going, why have you got so much right axis tilt, like second axis tilt here?
Axis tilt, yeah.
Why are you at 12 degrees? Like, what's just happened here with your mid-iron? Oh, I've just been working driver. I'm like, well, that's coming to you. You're now setting up your 7-iron like a driver. The ball's through like your left collarbone. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And I know what's going on because I've seen it. And we know the nuances between hitting a chip shot. I just did a short game school on the weekend, which I do every once a month. And I talk about the differences between spine angles between driver. And that's why we set up with our chipping up and down, because we want the club to work more downward, rah. But so if we just pigeon solve our holes in this 7-iron all the time, then we forget the nuances of a 4-iron and we forget the nuances of a pitching wedge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And there's not many, you don't hit that many 7-irons. Like, you might not even at your home course hit that many mid-irons. You could be hitting lots of long irons, lots of wedges. You know what I mean?
I definitely think, look, if you hit your 7-irons on your range, right, and you're working on feels and swing and contact, even with me, if I do it, I can pull out a 4-iron and I can usually hit it pretty decent. It's not going to go like sideways. Yeah. Because in the end, the motion's pretty much the same thing with sometimes some minor changes, right? If you're hitting a 4-iron, you try to hit it a bit higher or whatever. But it's a lot of times golf's never really the same, right? I mean, how often do you hit the same shot twice? Never. And if you do, usually it's like because you hit a crappy first one and you have to reload, right? So getting them to understand that, look, you gotta build your golf swing 100% correct. It's gotta be good, but at the same time, you got to be able to hit a driver, and then next shot, you got to be able to hit a 125-yard shot into a pin, right? Yeah. So you got to be able to switch, right? And quite often enough, they don't practice it enough, right? So I'm trying to kind of push them to do that more often.
Yeah, because, yes, and the range rats, right, struggle with that 125-yard shot with a established player with all types of wind types, pin positions, the environment in regard to the ground, if it's rough, bunker, they could hit upwards of 4 clubs from that one spot. They could hit lobby all the way through to 9-iron, 8-iron if needed, due to the nature of, trying to hit the shot that's required for that situation. But on a driving range, off a mat, hitting a 125 target, they're not really going to muck around with a little knockdown 8-iron, muck around with a little knockdown 9, or bomb a lob wedge up there really high. Like, they're not making those little adjustments. Is that what you're kind of talking about as well?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we try to tell them, and sometimes we were setting up that's why I love TrackMan and their software, the way it's designed a lot is you can set up certain tests. And then you can say okay, it's 130. And we do that. We say, okay, I want you to hit your 7-iron below. It's got to land 130. Right. Yeah. And so they're actually starting to understand, what do I need to change in the motion in my setup speed to the speed pattern of how fast we're moving through the golf ball to actually create different shots, different flights, different spin patterns. We do that, right? More or less with the better players, obviously, right?
And of course.
The super juniors, not as much. And another thing I really like doing with them is, have you ever looked at TrackMan Performance Center?
Not closely because I got quad, but I might be soon. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm not sure. Maybe quad has something similar, right? So it's basically you can set up little yardages and tests, and then it gives you a selection of different green types with, you see bunkers around, so you can choose from 10 different greens. Okay. And then you can choose from, I think it's 9 different pin positions on this green. Yeah. Which is then basically you can choose, okay, let's say we've got a long green with the 2 bunkers at the front and the pins tucked in the top right corner, and here's your target line. And then you can ask them, okay, so you look at this, where do you think is going to be a good landing area? How far is that carry? And what kind of shot are you going to try to play, right? So often, I find they have no clue.
Yeah, wow.
Like zero, right? So they just, well, that's, it's 175 to the pin, so I'm going to hit my 7-iron. Right? Yeah, okay. And it's 175 to the pin, and it's tucked back right, and you've got rough behind you, you've got everything, and you literally got 2 yards behind the pin. So you really think hitting it 175 is what we need? And once you start kind of pointing these things out, they go oh yeah. And then so look, where's the biggest area where you can basically hit it right and left and not really have a huge issue? And going a little bit into decade there with Scott Fawcett.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then suddenly they go oh, yeah, that makes sense. Right. And then through that, they start learning more on kind of what to do and how their target selection is going to be in the golf course.
I got 2 questions for you, follow-up questions. When you're talking about there, is when you're talking about hitting the ball, like a player needing to adjust and hitting the ball low, for instance, like you were saying that 130 carry 7-iron. Yeah. Do you try to create a systematic approach for that golfer to go, oh, okay, for me to do this, I need to do X, Y, Z? Do you create that for them? Do you try to get them to think that way through it?
In the beginning, I usually kind of let them try first on what they would do just by themselves to kind of this is what I want you to do. Go ahead, give it a try. And once I see, they do it pretty well, or I usually don't interfere too much with it. I might just explain, look, this is why we're doing this, and this is why here and there, this might be a shot that you want to play.
Okay.
And if I see they're struggling with it, obviously then down to the individual and how they're technically moving, I'll give them a plan and say, look, this is what we need to do more. If you want to launch it at lower, do this, do that. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And when you spoke about teaching that golfer about obviously getting the, hitting that 175, making sure that, obviously looking at, or basically, the way I tell people to approach it is that, 175, you've got, right, just think of a 10% dispersion pattern, 17.5 yards either side. That's your dispersion pattern, 10%. Yeah. And then kind of place that on the green mat there, right? And then start to work out where your aim point is. So what you were saying there before was kind of you'd bring that back 15 yards in front to make sure that they're going to have that fit inside that 10% dispersion pattern. But one thing and what you touched on there, I think is really important to teach a golfer is that I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is people grab the club first, Tyrone. They grab the club and not do what I call the external, which is the information gathering in phase 1 of a pre-shot routine to get that number before they start getting a club out.
Yeah.
So they get a club out and go, oh, is this the right one? It's like, no. It should be number, when, like, get to your number, what that shot needs to be, then work out what club it is. Do you think that? Do you think that's a major mistake, right?
Huge, right? And again, I think it comes from range, right? Because you just hit, most of the times they're all swinging full swings, right? As a golfer, you're just standing there hitting shots that they kind of know how far their ball carries, done. And then they just see like, oh, I'm this far away. All right, 7-iron comes out of the bag or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you look at, and we make this point with a lot of the students, it might be adults, might be pros. Pros, most of the times, they're pretty decent at it, right? Because they understand the whole pre-shot routine and preparation and really understanding, okay, what do we need to assess first on what's about to happen. Where's the pin? Where's the spots where we don't want to go, right? And then from there on out, they get a number in their head together with their caddy and they say, okay, this is the golf club. Where you're right, so often you just kind of go like, oh, it's 150. 9-iron comes out of the bag or whatever it is, right? You always have to assess first, right? Always.
Yeah. I always have like a little bit of a giggle to myself that when I take out my long-term students in my 1% club out in the course, right? And there'll be 3 of us out there and at a time, and I'll zap the flag, got the course, we got the GPSs in the cart. I go, okay, great. And I'll work out the wind, work out the distance, work out where I think optimal shot is, 10% dispersion rate, where we should be, and I'll spit out the final number. Okay, you guys need a 142 club. And every time I turn around, someone's changing clubs. Like every time.
Yeah.
Like someone's pulled the wrong club. And I just go, wow. Like it's honestly, you try it. Have a bit of a test next time you're out there. You'll giggle because every single time, because people pull clubs automatically, right? And I'm sure I made that same habit as well when I played. But then you'll see them always turn around and grab and change clubs. Oh, okay, what'd you have there? Oh, I had 8, but now I got 7. Oh, I had 7, now I got 8. But for people listening that, when I talk about a pre-shot routine, or if you're a golf coach listening about teaching your students, is going like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So I have phase 1 kind of data collection, getting ready for the shot, getting a number, working that all out. And then phase 2 is about what you're trying to do, what you can do. So it's like you might be a drill, you feel, whatever that movement might be, getting comfortable for the shot. And then phase 3 is just locking in and with your swing thought and locking in on your target. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the way I approach anyway for the amateur golfer out there listening.
No, I like that. And I think it's juniors in general, right? And especially when you're working with like some of the younger kids, right? It's one point that I always try to make as well, because sometimes, they're like running around with rangefinders, right? Mom's bought the most expensive Garmin or Bushnell rangefinder that there is on the market, right?
Yeah, there's some great ones out there.
To save 6 shots, right? It's like a lot of the youngsters, I said, look, don't worry too much about the rangefinder right now, right?
Yeah.
And I teach them basically how we would learn yardages back when we were kids, right? Based off the markers they have on the golf course, because they need to kind of start first understanding, how far are certain things. And as they're then progressing and they're better at controlling and they're gapping and really understanding, okay, how far is my golf ball more or less is going to go? Then always take 2 yardages when you're looking into a green, right? So you want to obviously kind of understand, okay, how far is the pin? But then also I want to zap the trouble, right? I want to see, okay, how far is it to this bunker? So let's say if it's 147 to the pin and it's 138 to carry the bunker, I understand how much space I have in between automatically, right? So I can commit to a better number. So it's important for them to understand that a lot of the stuff they do before is even more important than actually just having a good looking golf swing, right? You got to match these things to the swing that you want to make that produce that ball flight that you want.
Absolutely. And I think what's really important is to make sure you're not blending the phases together or blending certain types of training together. So, yes, there's a role for block technical practice, and yes, there's a role for performance practice. Yes, there's a role for, when I do my testing practice. you don't want to try and blend them. It's important to kind of train and skill them up. And same thing when it comes to playing the golf course. And mate, I even saw a video. I have to try and find it. Well, not a video. I was watching it live. Tommy Fleetwood on the 15th hole when he won the Tour Championship.
Yeah.
That par 3 over the water, and he hit it in the water on the hole the round before. And I'm watching it, and obviously as golf coaches, we look at things a little bit differently. And I'm just looking intently at his relationship with his caddy because I've been talking a lot publicly about Tommy Fleetwood and not having a win yet. And I was talking to some high performance guys about this when I was speaking at PJ seminar, and they were like, "You're not inside the 4 walls. You don't know." I'm like, "Well, mate, it's not skill. The guy can hit it. Like he's won Ryder Cup 4 zip. Like he's won the DP World Tour. It's like something's going on the PJ Tour. It's not because it's not timing and it's not patience. He's done lots of that. It's something going on." So anyway, I'm watching Tommy closely, and I actually saw he went to get a club out of his bag on 15 while the people were still on the green, and his caddy just puts his hand and pushed his hands away, and just like pushed his hand away, like off the bag. Said no, and Tommy didn't react or anything, but he just was like, "Oh, okay," like stayed in there. So. Basically, what would have potentially happened is that if they've got a pre-shot routine, and what I'm assuming, right, I'm obviously looking from just TV telecast of a 2 second clip, they've got a process and some phases that they go through. And if Tommy grabs that club and starts doing some swing feel stuff, then he could be in the wrong phase too early, where they don't even want to start doing their information collecting yet because they want to make sure that's timed exactly correct. And you always find that. I think that's a shit thing about the PGA Tour is that sometimes I feel like they don't find the numbers. They get off the green and they caddies and that start their process. I'm like, you should have done that before. Like, let's speed this game up. Yeah. But Tommy was also playing with Patrick, who was super slow. But anyways, that was an observation I saw. If I find the clip, I'll try and post it and put it out there. But that was interesting.
It definitely. I mean, you look at let's talk about Tiger as an example, right? And. You've definitely seen these collections where you see him hitting different shots. Yeah. It could be a shot on a par 3, a driver on that, and just how everything is just timed almost to the millisecond, exactly the same, right?
Yeah, Stevie G's put a few things out on it.
He's put it out there, right? And it's just amazing, right? On how deliberate and his decision making is. This is what I do every single time. Yeah. Right.
And I love it. But he's actually, I had a PGA Tour mentor coach on here, and he teaches a different way. Obviously, no one's right. Well, Tiger's probably right, because he's got the runs in the board. But it's he talks about. I have to get him back on again. The 3 C's or something, right? About confidence, calm, and something. I've forgotten already. I should go relearn it.
Commit or something, yeah?
Something like that. Yeah, that could be right, yeah. But anyways, but Tiger, fascinating, right? Straight away, the same time every single time, right? So he's working through that process, and it's clearly working, right? Yeah. Hey, all right, tell me, let's talk about some golf swing stuff. Who are your gosh, what's the word I'm missing here? Who are your inspirations when it comes to golf swing stuff? What have you into?
You mean coach-wise or player-wise?
Coach-wise, yeah. Philosophies, coaches, yeah. Not
coach-wise. Andreas Colley, I listen a lot to. I really, really like his take on a lot of things. Stevie, he's been a friend of mine and a mentor of mine for many, many years. I've learned a lot from him over the years. But if we're talking, more of the famous coaches, originally, of course, everybody's gone down the Let's route, right? Because Let's was the guy, right, back in the day. Yep. So went through a lot. Butch inspired me a lot in the beginning. You're big name coaches that were there originally. But if you're really talking now, I like what Chris Como does with a lot of his players. Dana, I listen in to him a lot, and Andreas. So I don't try to go too much down the rabbit hole on, okay, listen to this, listen to that. I have a certain way of how I think, certain baseline that I kind of like seeing with players. And from there, we can kind of take it. If the guy wants to hit more of a draw, hits more of a fade, it's pretty easy to adjust. Obviously, Mac O'Grady, stack and tilt, Andy Plummer. Huge stuff there from them as well. That opened my eyes to, when I was still playing myself, and certain things that I struggled in my golf swing. Once I actually started understanding some of those things that they talk about, a stack and tilt, which back in the day was kind of very controversial, right? By now you pretty much realize, well, everybody kind of tilts and has a pretty neutral spine at the top of the backswing, right? It's not, and you realize, oh, okay, I understand how to control my low point better now, right? So those I would say is like the inspirations that I kind of take from. And there's a lot of other young coaches. I mean, I watch you, right? I watch what you do with guys. I watch what Marian MM does with guys. I think he also does a fantastic job. He's a very knowledge-driven guy. Steve Furlonger, right? When it comes down to ground reaction forces and creating power, I've learned lots and lots from him, right? And cool thing about Instagram is you can go and watch everybody that you kind of want, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating. But what are the stuff that you've spoken about there are people listening, and I'm sure most people have understood some of the, everyone you mentioned there, is the systematic guys, right? So like people who have got systems in place in regards to their coaching, like, like the stack and tilt guys, right? And, Andreas, Stevie G, like they got systems as well within their kind of framework of what they coach. And so they've publicized a lot of that stuff that we've all had the opportunity to kind of learn from. Absolutely, which is, great influences. Mac, obviously, right? Like, I've watched more Mac stuff than poke a stick out, right? And
Misty Mac.
I love his, gosh, he was so far ahead of his time with a lot of his stuff. Like, you don't have to love the guy. You don't have to agree with everything, right? And I find that quite fascinating. It's like, Joe Rogan, popular podcaster, right?
Yeah.
Popular, number one podcaster in the world, right? Everyone knows who he is, right? Popular podcaster. Like, if you don't know who Joe Rogan is, go look him up, right? Like, everyone knows who Joe Rogan is, right? But like, he will say things. Everyone goes, "Oh yeah, I like it." What he says, I like what he says, and he says one little thing over a 5-year span. I don't like what he said there, so I don't like him. It's like, well, hang on. Just because he said something you don't believe in doesn't mean you don't have to like the other 99.999% of stuff he says. You know what I mean? So. The same thing that when it comes to all the systematic guys or some stuff that we learn from, there's so much gold within it. And, I know MM and Stevie G just put a thing out about stack and tilt, which I haven't watched yet. I have to go buy it.
Yeah, you check it out. It's good. It's quite cool.
It's quite cool.
Look at it, yeah.
But like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not attached to all of it, right? Obviously, right? Some of it, right? And the same thing with Mac. I'm not attached to all of it, but I love a lot of it, right? I love the framework of it, and I love the look of it too, right?
Yeah, it's just so nice to watch Mac hit golf balls in his little tennis shorts. Right?
Yeah, it's the best.
But I think
everyone always comments on that when I use him as my models, because obviously I've got like every single Mac O'Grady golf swing ever on my. I think I've got 300 Mac swings, 300 Robert Rock swings, right?
Yeah,
and everyone's like, "Oh, who's this dude with the shorts?" I'm like, "You got no idea. This guy hammers. This guy hammers it."
Mac Daddy. No, I think and you look at like Mac stuff and Morad, and you look at Dana, Scott Cowks, who's another one that I think does some fantastic stuff.
Yeah, of course.
I went through, I think, 3 of his seminars. It's very, very good stuff, especially when it comes down to like arm loading patterns, wrist patterns, release patterns, super cool stuff. But I think, everybody kind of got a bit inspired with the systems by Mac.
Of course.
Everybody kind of was there and then just kind of branched off into their own little things.
Yeah.
And I think for us as coaches, you don't want to have, this guy is the guy and I just listen to him, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to listen to a lot of them. Pick the things that you think, okay, this makes just sense, right?
Yeah.
And from there, I think you can kind of form and mold your own style of coaching around that, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be just thinking, oh, this is what you're doing, right? And this is the only thing that works.
Yeah.
You know, there's outliers and there's other things that sometimes you have to maybe kind of ignore because it doesn't look like exactly the way you want it, but it still produces the ball flight that we're kind of looking for, and it's repetitive and you can control it, right? So you kind of have to be a bit looser, I think, with certain things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was going to say something when you're talking. I was, in agreement with you for sure. But everyone has their preferences, right? So everyone has preferences, and I was talking to one of my coaches about this before. He goes, "Oh, Toby, I use this drill a lot. Just 6 to 9, P6 to 9, just kind of teach people impact." And he's like, "Oh, I just feel like I use it a lot with a lot of my newbies." And I'm like, "Yeah, does it work?" And he goes, "Yeah, it does." I'm like, "Well, keep doing it." Like, don't try and mix it up. Like, you do what you know works and what you're good at coaching, right? You don't have, just because you see someone doing something else doesn't mean that you have to try and copy it because you don't understand it, right? So you coach what you know, right? And I even use it to a degree. Like, I'm pretty outspoken about, I shouldn't say outspoken, it's really not a nice thing to say, but, Gankus' stuff, right? And GG's stuff, right? And when I mean GG stuff, like, I watch it, and I watched a video with him with a DOD King, and I thought, man, I understand what you're trying to do there. Like, I really understand what you're trying to do there, and I can see it. I can see what you're trying to do, and it makes sense. I might not do it that way, and I might do it this way, but I can see what you're trying to do. And I got hell no chance of trying to do what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why people say, like, Nick Flanagan had on, says a bit of a savant, right? But there's so many things that you have to do within that swing that matches what he needs from it. You can't just take one or two things from it, or otherwise you're up that creek without a paddle. So you've got to know the system that you're coaching and the preferences and certain things that kind of go within it, right? Like Andreas Carli talks about certain grip types that he likes.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, when it comes to Gankus, I think everybody kind of throws him down that rabbit hole of, what you would throughout like COVID times, right? Everybody, that's where he kind of exploded with his little, funky practice drills, and everybody started doing it. He's not just that, I've seen him give some lessons to somebody where, a lot of the stuff that he said there to me goes like, okay, that makes plenty of sense. I would agree with that. And it's not what he's really kind of known for. He just teach that. But funny enough, as you mentioned him, like Monica, the Chinese girl that I was mentioning earlier on, she went on to a US trip, play junior golf, IMG, and some AJGA events, finished second in a couple of them, got close to winning an AJGA event. And she went because her dad got recommended to go get a lesson from Gankus.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So she went there. And, I wake up in the morning and her dad beams me these pictures of, the driving range where Gankus is at. And Gankus is, like twisting her hip around with a net ball in between her hands and the wrist like this. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Right. So, and then I basically, she calls me and she goes, "Tyrone, I just had this lesson. I didn't like it at all. Like my arm started hurting and he kept on trying to get me to spin my hips more, and I already know that's an issue, so I didn't like it. I couldn't hit anything." So it's just like, she really, really struggled. And then I basically explained, look, I think what he's trying to teach you, for you, I wouldn't recommend it doing it that way, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's some of the stuff that he does, I don't agree with. And on the other hand, I see stuff where he coaches someone where I say like, yeah, cool, makes sense. Right. So you have to kind of have a bit of an open mind to certain things sometimes, right? Yeah.
And we're not saying any bad things, but I mean, it's like, God, the guy's a baller. Like, he's obviously coached, he has influenced some people on the PGA Tour for sure. And he's a savant. And what he does is completely unique to, what he does, it's unique. It's unique to him. Like, you couldn't have a and we're definitely not throwing shade. You couldn't have a lesson from, like, you could cross from plumber to Mac pretty quickly, I reckon, right? Like, closely enough, right? Like, maybe not, like, I'm talking about the style, the personality types, but then like jumping over to something like a Genghis would be a completely different whole, like, you're learning to speak Mandarin, essentially. So tell me, as we're coming up to an end, when you have your model golf swings that do you have model golf swings on your app? And if so, like when you're giving a lesson, if you're giving a lesson to someone, who are you using? Do you using a similar person a lot? Do you go to the same person?
It varies a little bit from who I have in front of me and what their swings kind of like. So I start sometimes picking out players that I think they can relate to and how they're built and how they move and what their patterns are. But I do use Tommy quite often, right? I use Robert Rock quite often. Adam Scott for me is just pure elegance and always has been, right? So it depends a little bit, right? And like if for example, the other day, I'm coaching this kid and he's 12 years old, is taller than me, he's built like a tank, right? And he plays with this left cup wrist. And, like there sometimes, and he's hitting a fade. So we look at, for example, Brooks quite often, right? On what makes Brooks' golf swing tick. With a couple of minor changes where I think, it could be a little better there for him.
Yeah.
But it depends on who's there. But if you ask me what I like seeing, I'm usually, if I have a baseline and I teach somebody a golf swing, or like, let's say a beginner comes to me and we want to just build a good golf swing, I'd say I teach probably just a tiny draw, getting the swing direction somewhere around neutral, and also that their paths a little bit into out. I think it's a pattern that a lot of people can kind of repeat. Where if it comes to hitting big high fades, there's certain things that people just can't do. Depends a bit on their age and how athletic they are. But yeah, that's where I would be, is like a bit of a Tommy, Adam Scott kind of thing. Got a little tiny draw. Robert Rock is another guy that does that very, very nicely there.
Yeah, Rocky's on all of mine. He's the man. He's got to come on the podcast. I had him lined up. It was all on.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm looking at the rest of the stuff. I think we've done a good job.
Good.
I think we've done a good job. We didn't actually talk about a lot of stuff. It's probably about 3 points on my list, right? But I really thank you for coming on. It's awesome to catch up. It was awesome to see. I'm glad you're doing well. I know you've gone through a change of facilities, and it's just it's unreal. But let me just let me ask you one more question, because I had a guy from Vietnam on recently, and I think a lot of golf coaches listen in. What's it like? Say, obviously, you're an expat, right? They're living in Thailand. Would you recommend Westerners or foreigners to kind of come into Thailand and start coaching? Is there a business for them? Like how does it? What's your advice on that? What do you think?
I'd say yes. Right. I mean, I'm kind of living proof that it works quite well. And there's a lot of good coaches, Western coaches that are working at something like Steve Furlonger. Like he made the move from England coming down to Thailand. He's coaching at like ASB, which is like an international school. They have like their golf program there, and he's part of that. So it definitely works. I would say the toughest challenge with Thailand to come and work for is basically the whole bureaucracy and documentation, how to set up your company, what's needed. That can be very, very draggy until you're getting your work permits. And so that can be a challenge to a lot of people. And sometimes it's the main thing that they maybe not do it. They go somewhere else. If you can find a job at a golf course or an academy somewhere, where they already have the stuff in place to give you a work permit. Like, for example, Phil, who works for me, Phil Chilton, he's from the UK, British PGA. He's got the work permit. He's got the work permit through me and through the company. So yeah, there's definitely a market, 100%. it helps if you do speak the language, right? And I'm fluent in Thai because I've been here, over 20 years, but
Yeah.
it's definitely something you can do here because I think the golf in Thailand is getting better and better and better. It's one of the top golfing destinations in the world, right? So it's definitely a market for sure.
Do you think it's important to learn a little bit of Thai? So, are the local people, are locals attracted to an international coach coming in? Do you think it's like, I'm not throwing any shade at Thai coaches or anything like that at all, but would a foreigner coach be, I guess, more attractive or busier as well, potentially at a time? Because
busier, maybe not so much. I mean, it depends on how good the quality of the coaching is. I mean, you can have some foreign coaches that are absolutely terrible and they probably have not much to do, right? After,
yes.
I mean, if you don't improve your students, they won't come back, right? So
I know some in Bali. I know some foreigners in Bali, and they're there on a holiday.
There's a couple guys down here that are sometimes just like, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, right? You do you. I mean, if you get a couple bucks here and there and helps you, your living, whatever, do you. But some of the Thai coaches are getting much, much, much better. There's a couple guys up in Bangkok that that I think they're doing a great job. They're definitely moving in the right direction, and they're busy, right? But if you want to be a better communicator, I think you speaking the language definitely helps, right?
Yeah.
Because as it is in Asia, sometimes the knowledge in English is just not as good. Right, and I can teach in Thai, I can teach in English, right? So it opens their market up for sure if you have that helping you as well.
I just think it's, as I was speaking previously in the previous podcast with Ryan from Vietnam, is that we've got this amazing skill set, and if you're passionate about the game of coaching, right? You're passionate about coaching and you love coaching, you got an opportunity to work wherever you want around the world, essentially, right? And what better place to live in Asia? Like even if it's only for a period of time, right? Gosh, crazy not to, right? Like Steve Furlong are going from the middle of the UK to Thailand. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not disappointed about the move.
No, I don't think he is either. I think he's liking it so far, right?
It seems like
wherever. Say again.
He seems like he's loving it. Yeah, I've had a couple of chats with him. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like everywhere you go, there's ups and downs, right? But things that you like and things that you dislike. But in the end, if you can live and you can coach and you do what you love every day and you live in a country where that is possible 12 months out of the year and I don't have to worry too much about, getting snowed on or, not having to go to Spain to go do some coaching there, then cool, right? Perfect. It's just the rain here and there that sometimes can cause me a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a little rain, right?
Making a ruckus right next to me.
What's your dog's name? I saw it before. Is it a golden retriever?
He's like a bit of a mix. You want to see him? I'll swing the camera.
Yeah, I saw him walk past behind before.
Right. Yeah, right here.
People listening in. Oh my word! What is he a mix of? Oh, she. What is?
I think he's like a bit of a street mutt. So he's got Labrador in him, but I think he also does have some pit bull in him. Because when you watch his skull, it's like this big. There you go. So you know that we're talking about him. Yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Uan, right? And then we got Luffy in the back, who's a retriever, golden retriever.
Oh, that's the one I saw, right? Yeah.
Lily, chocolate lab named Brownie. So yeah, we got a couple dogs.
Brownie, that's so funny. My mate in high school had a dog. It was a brown dog and he called it Brown. It's just so good. Like he's just like, it's brown, so I was going to call it Brown. I thought, man, I love that.
Perfect.
It's just perfect, isn't it? I just love it. Nice and simple. I love it. Hey, mate, Tyrone, you've been a pleasure. You've been great for your time. People want to follow you. I'll put all the links down below.
Sure.
TPR Academy down there. And where you coach out of as well. Mate, you've been a pleasure to be on. And it's great. It's great to catch up with you, man.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me again. And always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. And let's stay in touch, eh?
Thanks, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Go. Take care, mate.